And just like that, we are here to end your miserable Monday with a super uplifting and exciting episode of Long Box Punk. That's me. I'm Chris. I'm the punk, and I'm joined by my good friend from social media, Bruno, my man. How the heck are you, dude?
I'm really good, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's been a long day working and stuff, and now being able to, have a chat about comics and cool stuff with you. It's great. Thanks for having me. How about you?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I very much the same. Today was a very Monday, and I knowing that I have this stream scheduled with you just like made the day so much easier because I was like, I just need to get through this and then I get to hang out and talk to Bruno. So here we are. And looking forward to talking to you about Bereavement, which is currently running on Kickstarter. I'm going to hit this a couple times. The link is in the description, so you can easily find it. It's 2 taps away. It is running for another 66 hours, but who's counting? And it does need a little bit more to hit that goal. So as we talk about it, if you want to jump in on that campaign, you absolutely can do that. It is definitely a comic worth reading. I've also posted a reaction video to it. I don't like calling them reviews because I don't dig into like the writing structure and the semantics and the very highly technical details about the comic. I just basically like to talk about what I liked and what stood out and what popped and what people might enjoy. And so I like to call them reaction videos, but I did one of those for Bereavement too. So when we're done here, if you're still not sold on it, you can check that out and then go and back the campaign to make it happen in the next 66 hours. But before we get into Bereavement and talking about robots with emotions, I want to know your origin story, Bruno. Like how did you get into comics and how did you start writing and what led you to now right here in this moment in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, just before like a very quick tangent, but you were saying that you don't like to do reviews, but I think the good way to look at reviews is you find a couple of people that have the same kind of taste as you.
Yeah.
And that's the people you listen to. That's, when people say, oh, I don't care about reviewers, and you should, but just the people you care about, not an average. And
Right.
I guess that's, you're saying about how you felt about the book, and I think that's the right way to approach a review. It's how it made you feel. It's not whether the writing is this or that, or anyway. Tangent aside.
And many more to come, I'm sure.
Yeah. So my origin story. Yeah, so when my mom and dad, no, I won't go there. Yeah, so I'm a software engineer. That's my day job. I've been doing it for almost 2 decades.
Okay.
Kill me. But yeah, I mean, I always kind of liked film, and I think that was kind of the main goal for a large part of my life was film. And when I moved to London, I started writing films, and that was kind of my first exposure to writing and that sort of thing. I learned a lot. I think it was actually really good because in film you have gatekeepers, you have competitions, you have producers, you have all sorts of people that you need to show your work to and that you get through. So you kind of get like a general idea about what you need to hit in terms of how to tell a story, how to make it snappy, all that sort of thing. So I think that was great to learn how to tell a story. And yeah, I mean, I made some short films. I tried to get some stuff made, but you can say I'm a failed screenwriter, filmmaker. I don't know, because I never got very far with that.
You did make some, right?
I did. I made some short films, and one of them actually got a few awards, so that was pretty good.
Yeah, so take that failed out of there. Just throw it out the window because you did the thing that you set out to do. And yeah, I have a very low tolerance for people like, I just didn't do no, man, you did the thing. You didn't just like try. You made the shorts and the won a bunch of awards. Like that's awesome.
A couple
Celebrate
of
the
awards.
wins, Bruno. Celebrate the wins.
Not a bunch, but no, but I mean, funny story. I guess the moment that I felt like a real filmmaker was at the film festival where I was showing the film with, my producing partner,
Mhm.
who unfortunately has passed away. But yeah, we kind of did the movie together, and we were at the film festival, and everybody kind of loved the reception of the movie was great. And there was this lady, white blonde, I don't know, you get the picture. She was probably named Karen.
Got it. Yep.
Just got to us, and we thought, oh, she really liked us and she wants to talk to us. And her reaction was, how dare you making this movie? And I'm just like, oh, I made it. Seriously, it was my reaction. It was like, okay, I have a hater, this is good. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. See, you
Yeah,
did the thing. You did the thing. Good on you.
I got a hater. That's the goal. I could leave film after that.
Right.
But yeah, yeah. After that, I used to read comics a lot as a kid, and then I kind of stopped around the 2000s because I don't know, it was getting to same thing, and I don't know, I just got bored of it. And a few years ago, I started reading again and getting back to comics, and I thought, oh, this is a good way for me to tell stories that I can tell us in a film, because it's a lot cheaper to make. I have a product at the end of it costs the same to make as a short film, but I have something to show.
Yeah.
And I went to a Comic-Con where someone was talking about comics, making comics, and I attended. And at the end, he kind of said, "Hey, everybody's sending like a 4-page comic. I'll read it and I'll give feedback." And I
Wow.
did. I sent a comic. He read it. He really liked it. Um, yeah, I mean, I wrote something for him that's supposed to come out this year for an anthology, and I actually wrote a second thing called Bereavement for him.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just couldn't make it work. And I kind of asked him if it was okay for me to just, take it off his hands and, just repurpose it. And that's how Bereavement was kind of born.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that was kind of the origin story of, as a comic creator was, trying to make film, not being able to quite get what I wanted, finding comics as potentially a way to tell the stories I wanted to tell, and then having like this chance encounter with someone who saw my work and liked it, and just pushed me to write comics, and that was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. I love you hit so many things that I love hearing, where it like you had community, you had the guy that you talked to at the con that was talking about making comics, that was giving like free feedback, which is huge. You had like you got back into comics, and I heard you say that you had just kind of gotten bored when you got out of them, and so when you got back into it, it feels like, and if I'm extrapolating too much here, reaching too far, let me know, but it feels like because like when you got back into comics and then started making comics, you were making comics that you wanted to see that felt different than what was on the market currently.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it's more because growing up, I read Marvel essentially. There
Mhm.
was very little DC. There was no indies at all.
Yeah.
So it was Marvel, and it's great. I love a lot of the stuff that Marvel does. Even now, there's stuff that I like, but it was getting, it's the 2000s. It was getting all big events and stuff like that, and it was
Yeah.
not really my thing. Uh, if you look at the stuff that I read, if you look at my shelves, there's very little big two in there. It's almost all indie.
Mhm.
And I think that's the thing that I gravitate towards nowadays is indie stuff, because that's where you tell, really, really original stories. And
Yeah.
that's the kind of things that I like to write as well, is, something that, I mean, you said that you never read, something like Bereavement before. I mean, thank you. It's a great thing to hear, but it's
Yeah.
like the kind of things that I like is that, the things that I read and I'm like, how did I never think of this? This is brilliant, right?
Yeah.
It's the writers that get me that way is that, yeah, this is the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So moving then into bereavement, the thing that I mentioned, we're just like, I've never seen that before, was you gave Leo, this little adorable freaking robot, like this heartbreaking, like gut wrenching, just sadness at the loss of his partner. And like, I've never seen robots or AI like feel emotions like that before. They're always like the movie robots that had Robin Williams, where it's all like high energy and everything's awesome, and oh, we're getting rusty, but everything's gonna be awesome again, and we're gonna like there's that side of it. There's the Wally side of it, of like, oh yeah, I'm just doing my thing, and like here's this other cool little robot, and I think I like her. That's fun. But like to see a robot going through what you put Leo through, and then having that through the lens of like the psychologist coming in, it just like I have not seen or read in a story that's like that before. Like, where did the idea for this come from initially? I know you said you adapted it and kind of tweaked it and changed it, but like, where did this idea initially come from for you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, first, thank you for that. It's great to hear. I mean, I'm sure that I'm not the first who wrote something like that. I'm sure there's something out there somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, also a little bit dangerous to, write something about AI like this nowadays. But this was written well before AI was a thing. I just had to say that. Uh, but yeah, I mean, originally when I wrote this for the other anthology, I kind of was working within stories that existed on the first volume of the anthology, and I was kind of picking up on a story where someone died. So the partner dying was kind of that thing. It was very different then. So there was no Zara, and there was no therapist. So all of that, the only thing that came was like, finding something in an existing IP that I thought, oh, this is interesting. And I think it was about, the robot kind of feeling grief in a way and struggling to process that emotion because, a robot is a logical creature and doesn't understand what's happening to him.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that was kind of the origin. So that came in very early. But then when I took back the story and I rewrote it, first I had to write a lot at the start because I was relying on, people reading the first book. So, you have a lot set up. You can just jump straight into the story.
Yeah.
With this, it was more like, well, there's nothing. So I need to set up a story. I need to set up something. So I wrote, so I made Zara a therapist because it kind of made sense to have, someone who understands about mental health, grief, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But also it would be the person that I felt would be more challenged by Leo because she had a very clear idea about what a human is and what, a human brain is and what is possible. And this is kind of challenging all our beliefs. So it was kind of that. It was like putting this situation to a character that would genuinely feel challenged by this. Like our entire professional life was, you're pulling the rug from under her feet, basically.
Yeah.
Everything she thought was true is not true. So yeah, it was a bit of that. It was taking that original idea and then adding all these elements that I felt like it would make sense to put these two characters, against each other. Well, not against, but
right.
had
On
to have
opposite sides of the story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's fascinating to like challenge Zara in that way of, you're a psychologist, so you study human emotion and the brain and the psyche all the time. But like, the question I guess is like, do those same things apply then when it's a robot? And like that exploring that idea is tough, especially with all of the conversation currently with AI and how far is too far. And like I just want AI to do my dishes and like clean my house. I don't want it to make art. I don't make art. It doesn't make art. To be fair, I have a very hard line against AI, because it's stealing the artwork from artists that worked years to hone their craft, and then some Kyle bro is coming in with like, I can use words and make image. No, bro, it's all terrible. What are you doing? But so like it is a timely topic that you maybe didn't anticipate, like as you were working through the production on the book and seeing at the same time like the developments with AI and what were going on. Were there any moments where you're like, maybe I need to axe this. Like maybe this isn't the thing right now.
It definitely worries me, especially because my previous book, I work with an artist who is absolutely amazing, but a lot of people question whether it was AI. And that was tough. It was tough for me. I think it was even tougher for him, because I had worked with him before, even before AI was a thing, and that was his style way before. And it's this gorgeous, hyper-realistic style that people just, started questioning if it was AI. So going from that project to a project that's literally about AI, I was like, am I risking too much here?
Yeah, it's quite a big swing.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm liking the reactions that people are having. People are really liking the book, and they are especially liking the character of Leo, and everything that he goes through, and he's relatable. And so I don't know. I think it was the right decision to put this after. I don't know.
I mean, I definitely think I think that it's drastically different because yes, while Leo is AI, it's not like the generative AI nonsense that is stealing artwork and that the AI bros are getting upset, like, oh, you can't steal our stuff. Like, bro, you stole everything. Like, you wouldn't have a thing if not for stealing from other people. That's saying like, pirates don't steal, they just borrow to make themselves wealthy. Like, no. It's the same thing. So I do think, and I think that the connection that people would find with it is, it's like, I don't think that they should be turned off like, oh, it's a robot that is feeling stuff. I think they should be interested to see like how humans interact with and try to work through and maybe see themselves as Leo if they've lost somebody, or like, no, that grief of like just sitting and staring at pictures of the person that you lost. Like, I've been there. Right. And so like, I think people can see themselves in this story if they can just like forget about or not put the label of like, oh, it's AI, so like it's bad. Well, no, it's a robot that is aware. That's what it's like. AI has become this hot button topic or word or thing that people automatically think have a gut reaction to, but they forget like there's way more applications of it. There's way more versions of it. It's been around for 30 years. Like, it's not just the generative nonsense that we currently have. So I don't know. That's just a clarifying thing. I just sat through an AI training at my regular job last week. And so it's all like, as we were listening, I was like, man, I don't want to learn about AI. Like, it's all bad. And then they were talking about it from that aspect of like, no, it's, the guy was like, I was doing AI stuff in the 80s. I'm like, no, you weren't. And then they made the distinction like, well, generative AI, where, you put in the prompts and you get the garbage out. That's the new thing, but everybody just assumes it's like all AI, and that's not the case. So anyway, now that we've deconstructed, like, have you, as a software engineer, do you use AI in a way that enhances your like scripting and troubleshooting stuff?
Not really, because I hear that some people do. I haven't had success with that, because for coding, here's the way that I look at generative AI. Generative AI is good for informing decisions, but not to make decisions. If you're making art, you're making a lot of decisions, which means generative AI is not going to be good at that.
Yeah.
And if you're writing code, it's the same thing. You can ask, I think the way that I've used it moderately and very little was, I want to do this thing. How do I do this? And it just spits some code. And that's kind of just the base for you to Google, something that you have no idea how to do.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you don't know what you're doing and the AI gives you something that you don't know whether it's correct or not, you're going to have problems. And that's the thing. You can use AI if you know what you're doing, if you know that what AI is giving you is wrong. And I mean, I guess with art, that's different because it's more, subjective, but you can look at it and be like, this is crap.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's ever going to get better, by the way. I think we are kind of at, the end of what generative AI can do in terms of image. I mean, it can be a bit refined, but I don't think it's ever going to get incredibly better. But for software work, I never really got it, working in a way that, not like Mark Zuckerberg wants to do, like, let's fire software engineers and let's use AI. I don't think that's going to work.
Yeah.
It's going to spit crap, but yeah.
I mean, that's such a clear way to frame it of it can't make decisions, it can inform them. Like that, like I've never, that's good stuff, man. Because
but the thing is, the person making the decision needs to understand their shit.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, can we swear here? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't censor anybody. Like,
okay.
Yeah, be your truest person.
Okay. Yeah, I think so I'm in a real weird position with AI because I am not adamantly against AI for everything, but I'm against AI for, creating artistic works because again, it's crap. It's really crap. There's, like you said, there's really great applications in other areas like, medicine. If AI can, detect cancer early, that's great. That's really great. And it probably uses a lot of the same principles of generative AI. So it's not to say generative AI is bad. We're just not using it for the right things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I kind of lost my point. Where was I going with this?
I mean, we were like, I think just the conversation of like AI as a tool can work, but you have to have a person that uses tools, I don't know, whatever that would be called, to like properly use AI, because on its own, it can't stand on its own 2 feet and like Terminator, and then suddenly just be like, I know everything is about everything and here's how it's going to go. Like, that's not what AI should ever be doing. And for people like Zuckerberg to be like, oh no, I'm just going to fire these real humans and just implement AI instead. And it's going to simplify the workload and do all that. And it's like, dude, no, like, stop it. You can't replace humans with AI because, like you said, they can't, like, they're really bad at making their own decisions. They have to be given something to turn it into anything. And by that, like, they're just extrapolating data. And like, they can't come up with a new idea of their own. It's impossible. Like, that's not how that works. They can take all the data that you give it and, you can dump in like warehouse, like gigs worth of data into AI and say, give me these specific points of data or parameters or whatever, and it can extrapolate that and spit it back out for you. That's great. Like, I love that. I don't want to have to write all of those equations and stuff in Excel to get out what I want for reporting. But like, if you're trying to have it in just normal, like, day-to-day world, you can't ask AI what it wants from the coffee shop, because it's like, coffee is contrived of cooking beans and pouring hot water over it. Like, yeah, thank you. I know.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess that's the thing. I mean, it's yeah, you really need to have the human there to know what they're doing, to make the decisions, and yeah, I mean, yeah, it's I think that we are too worried that it's going to take over things. It's not. It's probably going to make things worse in the short term. I mean,
Mm,
getting on the Zuckerberg, thing of, oh, we're going to replace all junior developers. Well, in 20 years, you're not going to have senior developers because the junior developers never learned.
yep. Yeah.
Right? So you're removing the bottom layer. Those are, the top layer in 10, 20 years. So you're
Yeah.
not going to have that. So yeah, I mean, I'm not as adamantly against as most people. I'm not capable of saying AI is shit and there's no uses at all, but we're not using it the right ways, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
no.
like I'm not gonna lie, if I Google something and it gives me an AI overview and that answers my question, I'm not gonna keep searching. Like I'll take it and be like, oh, that's okay, cool, cool, cool.
Yeah,
If
but
I
sometimes it will give you crap. It will
yeah.
tell you really wrong information. That's the problem. It can help you, but you need to know that what it's giving you is right.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
And that, I mean, that goes into like creating movies. And so like my degree is in broadcasting. I studied media aesthetics and all of that stuff. And I'm a big nerd for it because I love when it's done well because I understand what it takes to make it and craft it well. But like for directors like David Lynch, who just recently passed, who broke all sorts of rules in aesthetics, but he did it intentionally. It worked at for sometimes. I'm not a big Eraserhead fan. Um, I watched that because I heard it was like a foundational horror film. The David Lynch at his most David Lynch, and I watched it and I was like, I don't get it. Like this is too abstract for me. But like in the crafting part of it, he just broke all sorts of like filmmaking rules because he understood them. Had he broken them not knowing them, then it wouldn't have worked and it would have just been trash. But
Yeah.
like, and I don't ever need to watch Eraserhead again because I kind of feel like it was trash. But that's fine. Like that's just me. You know what I mean?
I
But
never watched it actually, but yeah.
it's just weird for the sake of weird, and I don't understand. Like at the end of it, I was like, I mean, that was a movie, but like, what the hell did I don't? It was too abstract for me. I don't have a brain to like put together these huge, overarching themes, and well, yeah, I don't have it in me.
It's fair enough, and I mean, I probably wouldn't either. I mean, I like abstract ideas in movies, but they need to be grounded in something. I haven't seen
Yeah.
it. I can comment, but you know,
Yeah, I
yeah,
I need some sort of grounding element. And what I thought was grounding, even by the end of it became absurd. And it was just like, I don't, this has gone too far. Like, I just don't understand. But, if you do happen to watch it, I would be curious to hear. It's also fair warning, not an hour and a half that you're ever going to get back from your life. So, you got to weigh the pros and the cons.
I mean, at least it's just an hour and a half.
Right. Yeah.
Most
Yeah.
movies are a lot longer than that nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also true. And I've wasted a lot of time watching a lot of those movies that I shouldn't have watched,
Yeah.
but that's okay. So, speaking of like rules and stuff, did you find it an easy transition going from like writing for screenplay to writing scripts for comics?
Yeah, there was definitely like an initial period of adaptation, and you still see. I mean, less so now. But if you look at the first, comic that I wrote, Prey, you see a lot of like shots that are supposed to, or panels that are supposed to be pans of
Mm.
camera. So you have like, the very first page of Prey is like this tilt where I have like this big one image, but I wanted to make sure that you're tilting down and that the reader, the eyes are kind of just going, top to bottom. While if it was just an image, we'd probably look at the bottom because it's the most interesting part.
Yeah.
and I really wanted the person to be like, oh, this is odd, this is, this is dark, this is bloody, oh, I see what this is.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I kind of learned some, ways to do that, to kind of just use, I don't know, film language in comics.
Yeah.
But I think that's normal, right? I think, it's, I'm not definitely not the first one to do that. I'm not
Right.
going to be the last, and you have stuff like this showing up in comics all the time. So it's just, I don't know. I think it's really adapting from writing from moving images to static images. That's the biggest thing that you need to think.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's relatively easy, I think.
That's cool. And did you like go through studying like writing for screen, or like doing screenplays, or like did you have any formal education on any of that, or were you just like, I just have stories in my brain and they need to come out?
It was really much like that. I mean, obviously, I learned a lot over, I was trying to write screenplays for like 10 years before I started writing comics. So, it's a lot of time, and you get to learn a lot, by doing and failing and repeating. And
Yeah.
we used to have a writers group where we would just, give feedback to each other. So I learned a lot from those. I did go to a few events where, you'd meet other writers and workshops. I submitted scripts for feedback to readers that would give you back feedback. And so I can't really say that I had like formal education. I never read a screenwriting book, for example. I made it like very, I mean, I kind of came across, like this podcast. I don't know if you know about it, Script Notes. So it's by John August and Craig Mazin. So the screenwriters of, I don't know, Charlie Angels, and
Okay.
Craig Mazin just did, The Last of Us and Chernobyl.
Okay.
So, those are Hollywood guys who know what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
And the big thing from them was that screenwriting gurus don't know anything. And once you start learning a bit and you start reading those books that go, on and on about structure, you're like, yeah, this doesn't sound right. I mean, starting with structure, it can help organize ideas, but it seems backwards.
Yeah.
To me. And yeah, I don't know. I never really read a screenwriting book because of that. I've read stuff here and there. I learned from blogs, from other writers. So you can say I have some, not formal, but I learned from people who know how to do the stuff. But yeah, it was very, very much like that, learning from other people, not so much from books.
Yeah. I have found that so when I first was like, I have stories and I want to write comics, and like, because I love comic books and I love this medium, and I want to be able to hold a thing that I made that came out of my brain. Like I want that experience. And so I was like, what books do I need to read? Like, I'm really good at wanting to learn all the things. And so I bought a couple books that were recommended to me from friends that are in, work at like publishers or whatever. And they're like, oh, you got to check out this one or find this one. Or I just Googled like best books for comic book writing, and the AI generative thing gave me trash. And so I went on my own homework, right? Like I just did all of this sleuthing, and I did all this work to like learn about the thing. And I spent all of these hours like trying to find the best books, and then started to read the books. But like, if I'm being honest with myself, I learned more about script writing from reading like comic book creators' scripts who I appreciate, or who I feel like make really good comics. Like I learn more just from reading their script and seeing like their script to pencils to inks to finished page. Like I learn more looking at that. Like, oh, that's how they like than I ever did reading any of those books. And so I'm like, why the hell like I have all of these books, and they're right over here on my shelf. They're just these last like 5 books. All of them have bookmarks in them. None of them are finished. And like I started getting into them. And then I got to a point where I was like, I just need to read a script. Like I just
Yeah.
need to look at it. And so like looking at your website, I appreciated seeing like one of the tabs where you're like, here's like scripts that I've done for the short films. Like if you want to see them, here they are.
Mhm.
And talking to a bunch of creators, they're like, yeah, if you want to see my stuff, like just here's my script, here's the process. I'm the nerd that like the DVD extras
Yeah.
menu is for, where they do the like BTS stuff and they do the making of, and they talk about like how we made prosthetics for this one scene. Like I'm the person that consumes the shit out of that because I love it. I love understanding how stuff is made. And if I could figure out how to make that a job, I'd be happy, because like I just love deconstructing processes and seeing how things are created and then putting them all back together and seeing the finished product and be like, damn, there's a lot that went into that. And I feel like that with comic books, where it's like, I just thought it was a simple, like, you know, a writer and an artist get together, or a cartoonist that's doing both. And, you know, they're like, hey, we're going to make a comic. Yeah, let's make a comic. And then they just like hammer out the details and then they start drawing as the writer's talking. And then they come up with dialogue and whatever. And then the comic magic. And now you have a comic book. And like, there's a lot more to it than that. Like
Yeah.
you've got a letterer and the colorist and the like person that did the pencils and inks all on Bereavement, right? Like you have like a 5-person team.
Yeah, I mean, if you count, so yeah, there's me who wrote the script, and there's Samuel who did the art and the inks. We have Gio who did the color, and we have Mika who did the lettering, and then we have a couple of so we have Matthias did the logo, and it's a gorgeous
Okay.
logo.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of so Samuel did also the main cover, and we have a couple of variant covers from 2 other artists. So yeah, I mean, to make the book was 4 people really, but if you count, you know, cover and all of that, we were more like 7
That's
if you
crazy.
count all the covers. And yeah.
So like how do you find those people? Were you just like, is that something that you knew that you needed to do, or was that with like as you were working on the book, like, oh, we're probably going to need someone to like specifically just do the logo or specifically just do coloring on top of my pencils and it? Like, how did all that come to be?
I mean, for Bereavement, it was easy. I had done it a couple of times before, so it's like, well, I know where to go. But with my first book, not at all. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. So yeah, it's just, you know, I mean, my first book is not even released yet. It was an anthology that, you know, a sci-fi anthology. The first story I told you about that I wrote that, you know, got me. The first story I wrote, it's in that book, a little bit expanded, but it's in that book, but it's not released yet. And it was a bit of that. Okay, I need to do this, I need to do that. I mean, I was just picking up pieces. Sorry, where I find the people, Facebook groups are really good for that, because there's a lot of comic book specific books that are, you know, about connecting, you know, people. And you just ask, you know, I'm looking for an artist. A few people, or I'm looking for a colorist or a letterer. A few people will post their work there. You look at it, you know, and you just get in contact and you get together. And pretty much everyone I ever worked with, I found them on Facebook.
That's cool.
Which makes it really hard for me to leave Facebook. And I
Right?
really want to.
It sucks. It sucks.
It does. It does. It's so useful for that. That's probably the reason that keeps me there the most, because, you know, family and friends, look, you can find me elsewhere. You have my contacts, but for that stuff, it's so
Yeah.
useful.
Yeah, yes, I like leaving when I left Twitter, because that's what it is. I'm never gonna call it. It's always gonna be Twitter. I
I
had
call
been
it
there
Twitter.
for. I I had been there for like 16 years. Like I got one in college, and it like I had just found my community of like comic people and was having like really good conversations and stuff like that. And then Elon was like, I'm going to use other people's tweets, their posts for my AI. And I was like, the hell you are. And so that's why I got off of it. It has nothing to do with him being a complete psychopath. Like none of that nonsense ever even played into it. It was just like, you're not going to use what I came up with my brain and put out onto the world and took years to cultivate and find what my voice was there and find my community. You're not going to use that to make your product but better. Like you're just not. And so I left, and it was hard. And like I'm still trying, I'm on Threads and Blue Sky, and they're both very different, even though they're the same, right? Like they're both like you're making single posts for things, and Blue Sky has some really fun tools. Like I love the starter packs. That's how the vast majority of people have found me on Blue Sky, is through the starter packs. Like that's such a smart thing to do. And like now I'll be able to add you to my post-punk starter packs on Blue Sky. So if anybody is watching this and you want to know everybody that I've had on my show, I have a starter pack on Blue Sky with everybody I've had on the show. And like it's, you can just one click follow everybody, and then suddenly you have your feed full of awesome indie comic creators. But like I love that, but I'm not getting the like conversational aspect of it from Blue Sky like I do from Threads. And I hate that, because the crazier Zuckerberg comes out to be, the more that I'm like, I just want to get away from all of it. And I just like, you own Instagram too? Like, come on, man.
And WhatsApp.
And yeah, WhatsApp I completely got rid of. Like I had that for maybe 6 months. And I was like,
lucky you.
I feel like I need to have this for the show. And like, I feel like I need to have this. And so I did. And I talked to one person. And so shout out to Roy, the geeky old hog here on YouTube. Like he and I talked on WhatsApp a lot, but if you've texted me on there and I haven't responded, that's why I got rid of WhatsApp. But it was just too much. And like having these monopoly corporations that are just like, it's so, I know it's so like tongue in cheek for me to say, but like these big companies are really making it hard for the rest of us to like do anything and enjoy their platform, because once it comes out that you're a scumbag, like people are going to hate you and they're not going to want to give you money, and giving you money is using your product, and they're not going to want to do that. So I don't know, if you're watching the Zuckerberg, like we're not happy with you, so make it better. Okay.
That's the thing. I mean, sometimes people are not scumbags, they make mistakes, but you make a mistake, you own it, you improve, all of that Hollywood shit of, I'm just going to take some time and, better myself, that bullshit. But these guys are not even doing that. They're just doubling down on, all the
nonsense
they're doing. So
or like this is a great time for like Blue Sky stepped in, and now suddenly I think they're like the number 2 user count of any social media platform, and it's just like 11 people that are just like creating that entire app experience. It's just 11 people doing it because they're like, we just want to make a thing that's better than Twitter. And so like that's how it happened. And I love that. And also like, why don't we have that for more things? Like, why does that have to be exclusive to social media? Why can't we have 11 people step up and stick it to like, similarly, kind of, I guess I'm reaching, I don't care, it's my show. Like if you go on vacation, right, and you go out of your hometown and you like, hey, let's go get dinner tonight. Are you going to go to the chain, or are you going to go to the mom and pop shop that you can't have in your hometown? Because like those are people that have been, who knows how many generations these restaurants have been in their family, that you're going to go support. Like which one? I'm going to go to the mom and pop every single time. And I might get something unexpected, like pizza with corn on it. I don't know. But like, I'm never going to forget eating pizza with corn on it. When we were on a high school trip in Austria, and I basically was just like, I'm not eating anywhere that I know what the food is. Like, give me an all German menu. I don't speak German. And I just want to be like, that. And then when they bring it, be like, Danke. That's all I know how to do. but like we had and that just has carried with me into now. My wife knows, like, anytime we go on vacation, she's gonna find like off the beaten path non-chain restaurants. And with comic books, like, I'm not even usually looking at Marvel or DC when I go to my comic shop. I'm just like, oh, those are cool covers. Like, I like to check in and make sure my characters are doing okay. And then once I'm like, cool, the X-Men are still the X-Men. Great. Okay. Well, anyway, what are the indies doing over here? Like, that's just how my experience has gone. And I don't know if that's like just a me experience. Like, I'd be curious to talk en masse to people and be like, what is your experience as you've grown with, like, do you always just go to the Applebee's and like the big McDonald's? Like, is that always what you're going to do? Cause it's always what you've done. Or are you going to go to these other places and do, why am I ranting about this, Bruno? How did you get me here?
It's I don't know how you got there, but I'm okay with the conversation. No, but I mean I can answer your question if you want, but
Yeah, no, please do.
I don't know if you're going to like the answer because I'm kind of boring that way, as in the things that I'm very used to, I'm probably going to be very doing that. I mean, I will definitely try new things if I go outside, but I might go like for lunch, to the place that I don't know. And then, at night I'm going to, I don't know, McDonald's. Well, I used to, I don't go anymore because, they are scumbags as well now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Burger King all the way now until they do something. But yeah, I mean, I like to mix it up, but I do not mix it up as much as I should. I do like the comfort of the things I know. That said, with comics, I'm always up for the new thing. And I mean, do I have it here? It's not volume 1, but I found this by accident.
Nice. Yeah.
Have you read it?
Yeah. I've only read the first volume. I haven't read
It's
anything
so
past
good.
that, but yeah.
It's so good. I had no idea this existed. I found it. I like the cover. I read the small thing at the back to see if, it matched the cover, and it did. And it's so good. And it's something that I just found out, like, in a stand full of Marvel and DC. And this is DC, but, but it's very different from everything else. And
yeah. And isn't it Vertigo? So like it's a DC imprint.
DC Dark Black Label. Yeah, DC Black Label.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it has like Justice League characters and stuff like that. But it's so different that, yeah, it was really good. I finished reading it yesterday, so
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm much to the chagrin of my wallet and my wife. I am so willing to, like, I'm desperate for just new stories, unique takes on things, like interesting art styles, or like comics that push the boundary of being comics, that I am willing to spend more money on those things when I find them. And I can't help it, but like, if I find a trade that is like wildly unexpected and it's on sale, or it's like $10 or whatever, I'm going to buy it every time. Like, every time I'm going to walk out of the shop with that book, because if it catches my eye and it's something different, and I do the quick flip through to be like, does the interior artwork match the cover? Because when it doesn't, man, like,
oh man, don't get me started.
I've learned, right? Like, you learn to just, here's the things you need to look for. And so I don't trust Kickstarters when they don't show you interior pages. So I love that you are like showing what your book looks like inside and out. So it's like, hey, no, this is actually like what you can expect to see when you go back Bereavement on Kickstarter, which is running right now for 66 more hours. Like, as an indie creator, like, you just have to be willing to show people the book, and it's not for everybody. And that's totally fine, because similar to, I saw someone on Threads that were posting like, there's 2.7 billion users on YouTube. Like, wow, that's insane. And they were like, you can't tell me that your audience isn't out there, because in 2.7 billion people, your audience is there. So like, do the thing. And I feel I don't have numbers, but I feel like comic books are the same way. Like, don't not create your comic because there's so many comics out there. Create your comic. Like, make your bereavement, get it out there, finish your anthology, get it out there, Bruno. Like, do the thing, because like there's going to be an audience for it.
Yeah, I guess the problem is finding that audience is, yeah, because, when you don't have, I don't know, it's the whole thing of, money makes money. And I guess this is kind of having an audience makes an audience, if that makes sense. You have word of mouth, you have, if you have the numbers on the platforms, they will probably push you more. And yeah, I mean, you heard the whole thing about, actors in Hollywood that are being cast based on their Instagram followers.
Yeah.
That's disgusting, but it's the reality of it.
It's awful.
Disgusting. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, so my chances of ever getting as like even like an extra in an X-Men movie just completely plummeted. Got it. Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but yeah, I mean, I'm definitely learning a lot about building an audience. I don't think with my first 2 books, I was very, I didn't do quite a lot to promote. So, for example, I'm doing quite a lot more with bereavement, with, this, chatting with people. So thank you, by the way, for having me. And
absolutely.
But yeah, chatting with people, doing, reviews, and yeah, doing a lot more cross promotion. So I'm doing a lot more of that now. But I didn't do enough of that in the first 3 projects. And it's I don't know, I feel like everything builds, I don't know, I guess it's baby steps. It's like you need to keep making stuff and growing that audience. And like you say, the audience is out there, but you need to get it to them, I guess.
Yeah. And I by no means have figured out how to tap into the audience that's potentially out there, because like 2.7 billion, and I just cracked 200 followers here on YouTube, which thank you for that. But like, can I have like I don't even need 2.7 billion subscribers, but like 1 million would probably get me to where I'm making money here on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, how do you get there? I don't have that answer. I haven't figured it out. And I didn't start this show to have that number anyway. Like I don't normally even, I've never looked at like the number of podcast episode downloads that I always see other fellow podcasters talking about. I'm like, I don't even know where to find that data. Like I have no idea. And I don't want to know, because I didn't start this show for numbers. I've had jobs in like social media marketing and management, and where it's all about the number and the number of followers or likes or whatever, like engagement and I just like, it's exhausting and it takes the joy out of it. And so like I make the not joke all the time, like if I could just get paid to do this all the time, that'd be great. But also the flip side of that is, if I was getting paid to do this all the time, I would have to be focused on my numbers, because to get paid through YouTube, you have to have a certain number of views within like a 30-day cycle, and so many subscribers and so many this, and like there's parameters. And then suddenly you have to match those things. And I don't want to have to worry about tracking this. Like, I just like talking to indie creators about indie comics and having cool people like Ken on the show, and then still show up and, sound off in the comments. Like, that's what I like about this show. And so I don't know, man. I don't know how to find your audience.
No, but yeah. Hey, Ken. And yeah, this, yeah, I mean, it gets a full-time job. And yeah, I mean, I hear you. I wish I could just, make this, and, making comics at a loss is not great either.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So do you, doing your software engineering stuff during the day, like, how do you approach making comics? Is it like a second part-time thing, even though you might be making them at a loss?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. I mean, when I'm kind of just, I'm kind of finding out my sweet spot. I feel like if I have, it's really hard for me to be creating something if I'm working full time. but I noticed that if I have a good outline that I properly figured out the story,
Mhm.
it's relatively easy for me to sit down for like half an hour, 1 hour and write, because I don't really have to think about where the story is going. I just have to, I have an outline. I just need to turn that into a script. That's it. I know where the story is going. Sometimes, I'm surprised and there are things that come up. I mean, I was just writing new comic that I'm actually doing with Sam and Geo, Crimson Bay. It's like a fighting, video game,
Okay.
80s and 90s style. And there
Yeah.
was this character near the end that I kind of had an idea of what the character was, but I had like this really ridiculous fight towards the end. I was like, shit, I was not thinking about this. This is great. And I love it. I can't wait to see that in a page because it's so crazy. It's so
Yeah.
crazy. I can't wait to see that. And sometimes that happens. And I had like a full outline. I knew where the story was going, but then the details, it was like, oh, this is way better than what I had thought first. Um, that still happens, but I feel like I can just get stuff done if I'm working full time and I have like a proper outline. Otherwise, I'm just really struggling and I don't do anything until weekends. So, weekends I might take a few hours. I don't know. I think it's really hard to create. I don't know how it is for you, doing, uh, what you do, but yeah, it's really hard for me to be working full time and then have I don't know, the brain cells left
Yeah. Yeah.
to create something.
Yeah.
Unless I already have the instructions.
Right.
If I left myself instructions, it's a lot easier. Otherwise, yeah.
I mean, there's something to be said about like helping your future self. And so similar with the like I spent so many hours trying to find the books that were gonna, teach me how to write comics the right way. And then I do learn like I don't need any of these books. Like I just need to look at other scripts and learn from that because I've always been a hands-on person. I always did way better in science because I can get into a lab and I can actually touch the chemicals sometimes and like see I can actually interact with the things instead of history where it's like, I don't, okay. So like Tutankhamun was a pharaoh. Cool. But like, what's that? You put me in a lab and I'm like, oh, this is what calcium nitrate looks like. I don't even know what it looks like, but it was the first sciencey thing that came to mind. But like, I've always been a hands-on person. And also I've learned that the way my brain works is if I give myself parameters ahead of time, it's so much easier for me to just like I can let loose and have fun and create when I have parameters versus like, oh, I'm just going to sit down and have fun and create some things. I'm not going to do anything for that hour. Like I can guarantee it. And I could tell you the dates and where I was when those happened, as opposed to like, okay, I have this idea that I know I need to write and I want to write down. And so instead of having like, I'm going to write the full story, I just want to like figure out what my shot list is. What's my outline? What are the high points I need to get that like how it starts, how it finishes, and then maybe a couple things in between. And that'll help me then flesh out my script fully to figure out what I need to do. Like that's how I have to start. Cause if I don't define the beginning and the end,
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep going. And I don't want to like, I don't want to just babble and have filler and fluff and whatever. Like, I want to have a very succinct story. And that's partly because, like, as a Christian, like, there's somewhere in the Bible that says, don't be like the Pharisees that just babble on when they're like, just ask God for what you want, pray it, and then move on. And so, like, I just pray if that's good enough for God, that's good enough for everything. Like, it should be good enough for me. And so that's just how, like, I don't want to do all the filler like I'm filling right now. It's okay. But so yeah, I definitely am a fan of like Rails and setting clear parameters that then I can just go wild with. And it's so much easier for me to create if I have that intention already set, as opposed to like, oh, I'm feeling well caffeinated and I've got 2 hours. Let's make something. And then I end up doing this like, what did Bruno say on Blue Sky? He said something funny and I can't like, I just get so totally distracted because I have too much freedom. And I'm sure there's a istic or ism for that, but I don't know what it is. But yeah, listen, Chris, I was very close to losing some fingers. We actually had a guy, Alan Brady, went to the hospital because he set the sinks on fire because we were all dumping our chemicals like down the sink, and it went down the main trough in the middle of the desks and then poured into the like actual sink thing. And he like clicked one of those lighter things and it lit the whole, like the chemicals, and the whole sink's caught on fire. And he was like, oh no. And it like blew up right in front of him. And he ended up like burning his pinky and his ring finger on his right hand. Never forget Alan Redmond was his name. Alan, if you somehow, I hope your hand's okay. I don't remember how we got here either, Bruno. This keeps happening.
It does not matter. It's fine.
We see, this is also like, this is why I love doing this show and having cool people on, because we can just go off on tangents and then like, no, we were talking comics and then we started talking about life and other things. And like, that's the enjoyment part of it, is like, we're just hanging out and having a good time. And like, that's what people in community with through line interests like indie comics should be doing. Is just like, the world just needs more of this.
Yeah.
Maybe not specifically this set with purple backgrounds and stuff, but like this camaraderie, this, as I break everything, like just relax a little bit. Like, we live in different countries. Mm-hmm. We're separated by what, like 13 hours? I think maybe
it's that much. What time is there?
It's 6:34 p.m. here.
Okay, I think it's like 5-6 hours, 18.
Oh, so it's almost midnight for you.
5 hours. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not even midnight yet.
Perfect. All right. Well, then we'll just keep talking until we hit like 3 a.m. for you, right? That's fine.
Dang, that would really. The other thing I learned about myself is that if I go to bed relatively early, I can have very productive days. If I don't, my next day is ruined.
Well, you're not going to have a good Tuesday.
Fine.
Just listen, give him my email, have your boss or manager, whoever, just have me, I'll give you a punk slip instead of a doctor's note, and tell him like I needed him. So you're fine.
Yeah, it's worth the same as a doctor's note.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. I carry that same kind of clout. I think so. So when you're writing,
are you trying to talk about comics? Are you really trying to ruin the?
No, I'm not. Actually, I want to ask about music.
Okay.
So like, when you're writing, do you listen to music when you're writing? Like, does that help you with your process, or are you like, it's got to be silent because I don't want distractions?
I tend to write in a coffee shop, so.
Okay. So you have like that ambient background noise of things going.
Yeah, I think the background noise is more quiet than the background noise in my head.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So sometimes I do listen to music. It really depends on my mood. And that can go, I can listen to something more chill. I can listen to, hard rock with screaming. It really depends how I'm feeling. I don't know. I haven't found a formula. It's just what I feel at the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just, being in a coffee shop with people talking around me. As long as I'm not trying to write in English and people are talking Portuguese or Spanish or some language that I understand.
Yeah.
That is annoying because my brain can switch between the two. Yeah.
It must be so annoying knowing so many languages, man. Jeez. So how many languages do you speak?
I mean, technically just, Portuguese and English, but, Spanish, French, they are relatively close.
Yeah.
Italian is something close. I started learning Japanese. The other day I was in a coffee shop and some guy was kind of working and he was Japanese and he was talking in Japanese. Every once in a while I would pick up some words and I'm like, oh shit, I know what that means. It's getting to that point where I'm starting to pick up words. It's still very basic, but I can pick up some words and I'm like, oh crap, I can get the meaning of what he's saying. It's ruining my mind.
Yeah, I would not be able. The closest I was ever bilingual, and that was not close at all, was in high school because I did 3 years of Spanish because my best friend is from Puerto Rico. His mom was from Puerto Rico, his dad was from Texas, and like so they only spoke Spanish at home. What I didn't know was my teacher was teaching me Mexican Spanish. See, you get it. But like the dialects are completely different. Like turns out Puerto Ricans just drop off the last syllable of just about every freaking word that they say. And so even though I knew what they were saying and I knew they were using words that I know, I still didn't understand because they were only speaking half of the word. And I was like, come on, I'm doing this for you. Like, I want to be able to hang out at your house and speak Spanish with you. That was my whole goal. And I just like, after that, I was like, there's no sense in continuing. I don't need to keep going.
I mean, I think that it's, I'm honestly just understanding Japanese, just learning Japanese because I think it's like, I don't know, it's like more like a brain teaser than anything else. And it's like, I don't know. I just wanted to learn something, and if you do it in the morning, you feel accomplished for doing something, even if it's like 3-5 minutes.
Yeah,
it's really for that. But yeah, I mean, Spanish. It's like if it would help with maybe not with Puerto Rican Spanish, but most other countries you probably would.
Yeah, I think I just happen to have the close proximity to the one version of Spanish that's like impossible to understand. And like even now my barber is from Puerto Rico and I was telling him all of this stuff and he was like, yeah, man, you're screwed. Like it's totally different. And I was like, so do you want to teach me? Like, I still want to learn. And he was like, Poppy, no. I was like, okay, all right, thanks, Miguel. So Ken tried to learn Japanese in high school. Like, that's crazy. Being a weeb, I don't know what that word means. But I trust you, Ken. And then also like with Chris, his dad translating Spanish from his stepmom and getting those mixed up. Like, dude, yeah, I can barely keep track of English. I was doing all right learning Spanish, and I crossed a threshold of like, I was having dreams like fully in Spanish. And I told my high school teacher that, and he was like, you're the promised one. Like, you're going to be the kid that I have that actually goes through with this. And then I saw him after I graduated and was in like my third year in college. And he was like, so how's Spanish? And like started talking to me in Spanish. And I was like, Senor, please. I don't remember because I stopped. And he was like, oh no, like
no mas.
Right. Lo siento, senor. But yeah. Also Weeb is an anime dork. So okay, cool. Thanks, Ken. You learn something new every day. All right, Bruno, I got 2 more things for you. The first is I poorly planned and didn't turn on my overhead light. So I'm just looking like a ghost, but we're going to pose and I'm going to use this as the YouTube thumbnail. Mm-hmm. And that's basically because it makes my life easier. And make sure that you get to show off how you want to be seen on the thumbnail. So I'll count down. I got to make you go to shortcut. 3, 2, 1. We're going to go here. All right, cool. The other thing, it's just whatever, man.
Do the best you can with what I gave you.
Perfect. No, I got you. I'll just I'll Photoshop Leo's robot face onto your head instead.
Please do.
Yeah. I don't have that kind of ability. Otherwise I would. I totally would, but I can't. I don't. I've never been good at Photoshop, and that's fine. It's just not my calling. It's not my ministry. That's a joke for one person. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted you to do, and this is what I teased you about earlier, is I love doing this show because even though we're in different countries, in different time zones, with completely different backgrounds, we both love indie comics. And everybody that comes on the show is creating indie comics. And I love that. And I love the different perspectives that I get to talk to and the different people that I get to talk with because of doing this. That said, I want to make sure that you have some time to just talk to anybody that's watching and or listening to this now or in the future or whenever this finds them. For anything that you want them to hear from you. So it could be some deep philosophical thing. It could be, hey, buy my book, support bereavement, because it's only got 66 hours to go and it still needs to hit funding. Like the content part doesn't matter as much as I just want to make sure that you've got some time where I'm not filling the space and people can hear directly from you. So take it away, my friend.
Right. So I don't feel the pressure at all. But I mean, it's really that. I mean, have a look at Bereavement. It's been having really great reviews. And it's not me saying that. I mean, I can say this. The art is gorgeous. The colors are gorgeous. You know, the lettering is some of the most professional you'll see. It has 3 beautiful variant covers, so you can pick any of them. So yeah, I mean, even if the writing is shit,
it's not, by the way.
But even if the writing is shit, at least everything else in the book is absolutely gorgeous. So it's definitely worth getting. And we are, like Chris said, we are like 65 hours away from the end, and we're still away from the goal. And it would be a shame to, you know, not put this book out there based on how much people are actually enjoying it so far. If you go to the Kickstarter, you'll see a lot of reviews and quotes from people who read the book, and they are strangely all positive, very positive. So that's good. And yeah, check out the book. If you are in the US or, you know, Canada, Australia, anywhere outside of the UK, we have really cheap shipping costs compared with, you know, everything else on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And if you get all my 3 books, you can basically get shipping for each book for around $3. So it's basically the same you'd pay for a, you know, a local book. So that's a good way to save on shipping. So, you know, get 3 books for, I don't want to say the price of one, but, you know, for the shipping price of one, if that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I mean, yeah, go check the book, and that's it.
Do it. It's super. As you were about to allude to, I do have the link in this episode description. So it is 2 taps away. It's expand details, and then tap on that Kickstarter link. It'll take you straight to the page to give you up to the minute information. You have 87 backers and 65 hours to go. Not quite there yet. I can't do the math to figure out the percentage, but it looks like you're about 65% to goal as of now. So really looking for that last 48-hour, 65-hour avalanche of like everybody that's been holding off on not backing for whatever reason that they do that. Now's the time. So operators are standing by. Pick up your phones and dial kickstarter.com/bereavement, whatever the rest of the link is that's in the description, and just back now. You know what I'm saying? Like, make the book happen, because it is a really good read. And I feel like it's setting up a further story. Am I like, you've got more there coming, right? Like, you're not just going to leave me hanging on the edge that you did.
I hate you guys. I hate everyone. No, I'm kidding. that's been a very frequent comment, that people want to see more, and there was not supposed to be more. I mean,
Perfect.
here's what I've. Oh, sorry, my screen kind of just turned off, and that's less light. Um, the way that I'm thinking is, if I come up with something that I think is worth, a story that's worth telling, I will. It was not supposed to, to continue. It was supposed to be like a one-off,
Yep.
thing, Twilight Zone thing, where, yes, it ends a bit in open ending, but it's the nature of the story.
Yep.
I will not make something just because people want it. I mean, we were talking about it earlier, right? About the whole thing of, following trends and that sort of thing. I'm not going to do it just because people want it. I will do it if I feel like I have something worth doing. That's basically it. If I come up with some idea, sometime while I'm taking a shower, something comes to my mind, I'm like, this is a good idea to continue Bereavement, I will. Otherwise, I won't. There's no point doing it just for the sake of doing it.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. And like doing something just for the sake of doing it is never the right reason to do it. Like it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nobody,
Fully get it.
nobody wants a Joker too.
Right. 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 No one wanted that. No,
I, I,
no one.
I haven't seen the movie. I'm just going on,
I haven't either.
Yeah, public hate.
Yeah. I'm probably not going to see it though. Like why do we need a second one? The first one was so depressing. It was really good, but it was so depressing.
Yeah, I really like the first one, but yeah.
Yeah. Bruno, I've had a blast hanging out and talking to you. Thank you for making my Monday less sucktacular, and for just like staying up late. Apologies to your boss tomorrow. Have an extra cup of coffee on me. So, but yeah, that's
nice. We're good.
Great. Perfect. All right. Well, that's the end of everything that I've got written down. We've done all the things. We've said all the stuff. So I guess we're going to call it a wrap. Hang out after I end the stream. I got some logistics for you, and then I'll let you go to bed. But for the rest of you watching or listening, what's a good podcast without a good tagline? This is mine. Go do what's good for you, punks, and support and read some indie comics. We are out of here.
Yeah.
And then we wait.